The following is a DW Ancient Egypt production. Sneferu, his name meaning he of beauty, who ruled from 2613 to 2589 BC, may have been the son of Huni by a minor wife, Queen Mieroop I. He married Hetepheres I, the daughter of Huni, by another wife, to cement his position. Sneferu was the first pharaoh of the 4th dynasty, and his children had a major impact on the Egyptian culture. Khufu built the Great Pyramid. Neferma'at I and Ka-Nefer were his viziers, and Ankuf was the vizier of his nephew Khafre. His other sons included Netjeraperef, Rahotep, Ra-Nefer, and Ai-Nefer. His daughters included Meretetes I, the wife of Khufu, Hetepheres A, the wife of Ankuf, Neferet Nesu, and Neferet Ka. Sneferu's reign saw three major innovations. The first was that true pyramid construction began through trial and error. The second, Egypt became an international power. And the third, artistic standards were established that would last for thousands of years. Sneferu was the first pharaoh we know of who carved his name in a cartouche, French for artillery shell. A cartouche is an oblong circle with a baseline into which the king's name was written and signifies the king's power over everything the sun encircled on its daily course. Sneferu must be ranked as one of Egypt's most renowned pyramid builders. In fact, the sheer volume of building work was greater than any other ruler in the Old Kingdom. His achievements in pyramid building extended beyond the pyramid structure itself and incorporated evolving religious beliefs. During his reign, we see the first real elements of the sun worship that was to follow and reach a culmination over 1,000 years later in the reign of Akhenaten. For the first time in the orientation of the building plan, the main axis was oriented from east to west rather than from north to south, as were earlier pyramids. This was apparently a move away from the astronomical star-oriented beliefs toward the east-west passage of the sun and the worship of Ra. Now, with Sneferu, the mortuary temple was on the east rather than the north side, like the Djoser Step Pyramid complex at Saqqara. We see the first of the small satellite pyramids placed near the southern face of the main pyramid. Furthermore, the pyramid and mortuary temple elements were now linked by a causeway to a valley temple located on the edge of the cultivation closer to the Nile. It is believed that the valley temple operated as a monumental gateway to the whole of the pyramid complex. After the death of King Huni, his son-in-law Sneferu founded the 4th dynasty, as we noted earlier, by marrying Huni's daughter, Hetepheres. She would find great fame as the mother of Khufu. Sneferu was also a son of Huni by a minor wife. He was probably therefore Hetepheres' half-brother. By marrying Hetepheres, who presumably carried the royal bloodline as the daughter of a more senior queen, he consolidated his claim to the throne. This would be common practice throughout the ancient Egyptian line, much like the future British monarchy. Sneferu's international policies took him beyond the borders of Egypt. As recorded on the Palermo stone, Sneferu organized trading expeditions to Lebanon to get cedar wood for temple doors and pyramid construction. Among other building uses, Sneferu is credited as having used some of this wood to build Nile riverboats up to about 170 feet in length. Wood was a scarce commodity in Egypt, thus stone and mud brick were the main building material. Like the previous pharaoh, Sneferu also sent expeditions to the Sinai to mine copper and turquoise. There were considerable difficulties in mining. The organization for such a trip was considerable in itself, not to mention the demands made by the summer heat, which was incredibly hot. Average temperatures were around 115 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. An army was needed, since these expeditions were in foreign, dangerous territory. Inscriptions in the Sinai call Sneferu the smiter of barbarians. Later, during the Middle Kingdom, the Egyptians created a temple for miners on top of the mountain, which was dedicated to the goddess Hathor, Our Lady of Turquoise. At this site, called the Temple of Serabit el-Kadem, Flinders Petrie discovered a small sphinx made of red sandstone, which has two intriguing inscriptions on its base. These were written in Proto-Sinaitic script. The precise origins of the script remain uncertain, but the inscriptions bear witness to a key phase in the early development of alphabets, in which the symbols represent sounds. And so the Sphinx gives us one of the oldest surviving examples of the first stages of the alphabet we use today. A campaign conducted in Libya records 11,000 captives and 13,100 head of cattle. According to the Palermo Stone, they also campaigned militarily against the Nubians. The expedition to Nubia was a very large campaign. The Palermo Stone records the capture of 7,000 prisoners and 200,000 head of cattle. The population of Nubia was never very great, so this was perhaps a rather substantial depopulation of the area. Not only were these campaigns against Nubia initiated to obtain raw material and goods, but also to protect Egypt's southern borders, as well as the all-important African trade routes.